Before Facebook, before the internet, even before TV and radio, most people got the news of the day through newspapers. Many still do, though they get theirs delivered to the door either through the mail or by carrier contracted with the media outlet. But in the late 19th century, most newspaper readers in larger cities bought their copies from teenage and preteen newspaper hawkers. They would shout out the headlines and try to get the attention of the average Joes and executives walking to and from work each day while collecting the nickels they would receive for the daily news, for some, twice daily. However, when famed publisher Joseph Pulitzer tried to increase his profit margins by increasing the wholesale prices for the printed page, New York City Newsies went on strike. That is the backstory behind the fall 2020 Waverly-Shell High School musical production of Disney's Newsies. Today, I have the director of the production, Allison Rasmussen, and three of the stars, Donovan Wessel, who plays Jack Kelly, Jonathan Wessel, who plays Crutchy, and Ellie Reznicek, who plays Hannah, along with two other minor roles. They'll be showing their production virtually this year due to COVID-19 at 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, December 18th and 19th, and 3 p.m. Sunday, December 20th, with tickets available through the WSR website. I want to thank everybody for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Okay. All right. First question is to Allison. So what has it been like to do all these, get all these kids together in this situation with the coronavirus raging on, and not having a in-person performance like normal?
It has, well, I have to give a lot of props to two groups of people. One, the group of people that I direct with, including Greg Wessel, Sherry Niles, Jim Vowles, and John Atkinson. We all had conversations over the summer, just, what is this going to look like? What are our possibilities? And with the clientele and the kids that we had this year, it was like, very rarely in a director's career do you have enough young men to do the show of Newsies, with the majority of the Newsies being young men. And so we couldn't pass up that opportunity. So the kids, that would be the second group of folk who made it possible. The kids worked super hard on, we had like very, very, very strict protocol. You had to stay in a small group of people. Our first rounds of practices were a group, and then 30 minutes with the other, and they were done. So we did absolutely everything we could to keep the kids as safe as they could, and they followed. I mean, it was obviously something that was super important to them as well. So making the decision to go ahead with it took a lot of adult perseverance and making it work. It was all perseverance from the kids and making that happen too.
Now, Allison, of course, with the most recent protocols where you can only have 15 people indoors at a time and 30 outdoors, how is that working around that rule of late?
The curious piece of that is the restrictions that the governor has put on the schools, specifically high school activities. For example, when you think about basketball and volleyball and wrestling, all of those are way above what the CDC is recommending, and that's kind of the window that we have to play in, or we get to play in. But even then, though we were above what kind of some of those CDC recommendations were, we were absolutely within our state parameters, but we were even higher than some of the state parameters with the way that the protocols that we had with when we were sanitizing our hands and how we were moving among people. I mean, because when you look at some of the science behind the spread, singing is one of the big fat no-nos. Like singing is such a high rate of transmission. So we were masked every single moment. And bless those poor happy children. I would not have wanted to do all the choreography that I made them do with a mask on, because it was hot and sweaty and gross. And I know that they just gave their all. But again, it was, I have been challenged a little bit with people like, oh my gosh, you did a show? I'm like, we would not have done it if A, I had not had the support of the adults, or B, I did not feel like I was being able to keep the students as safe as we possibly could. And because they committed to it as well, and we all committed to that extra level of safety, we were really successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's Jonathan, and Ellie? You guys wanted to add to that? How was it on you guys' part?
I mean, clearly it was like unlike anything I've ever been a part of. Just how like, I don't know, like the one word that popped in my head when you asked that question was just crazy. Just sort of like Mrs. Rapson said, trying to learn the choreography with a mask on and panting after like 5 minutes of just like a quick little session of it. And just like even you hear like people singing in general with a mask on. You're just like, how do you do that? And I think people will be really, really surprised at just how we're able to pull this off with masks on in general. I thought it was just a really, really good thing for us to do.
Mm-hmm. And John, do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, especially in this musical, especially, it's very taxing on your voice because it's like a very loud, heavy musical. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very different from like the ones that we've done before. It's like it required a lot of singing, so you're out of breath, you couldn't breathe, you had to take like little water breaks, but we were very controlled of like wearing our masks and that stuff. So we're really glad that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Ellie?
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I'm just kind of thankful overall that we even got to have like a musical, because I came in into senior year thinking we weren't going to have anything. We weren't going to have any sort of musical activities or music in general, just because of all the aerosols that are produced. But we did a really good job wearing our masks, and I think that really paid off because we got to do the show. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, it seems that WSR does alternate between a Disney production of late and a classic musical production. Mm-hmm. Last year, you guys did South Pacific. The year before was Disney's High School Musical. So, Allison, what got you narrowed down to doing Newsies this year?
It was a no-brainer. We were so fortunate to have, first of all, a wealth of senior that were going out and have kind of grown up with our program to begin with. But when you have that many young men audition for a show, you have to do a show that leans on young men. And Newsies being probably one of the most fun. I mean, there were a handful of other things we thought about. We thought about Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which would have been very in par with the kind of clientele. And that's when we choose a show, it's not like, oh my gosh, I would love to do Phantom of the Opera. It doesn't work that way. You have to look at the students that you're going to be working with. And we're just super blessed. And the young ladies that we had that played our Newsies and played in all of the different characters, I'm so proud of these kids and this theater family that we've grown together, because you can tell how and where they take care of each other and really how they've kind of grown up through the program. And even, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do without all these great seniors, but they did such a great job fostering some of our younger students as well. Like some of our sophomore kids this year were already taking the lead in some of the offstage stuff and making sure that all of the rest of their friends and characters were staying quiet or doing what they needed to do, or kind of gathering in little pods off to the side and doing some choreography rehearsals while everybody else was doing some other stuff. So this family that we have built makes it easier and just important to be able to know who you're going to have to be able to play what you want. And we don't necessarily shoot for Disney. We really, because we're such an educational program, we're really trying to do just as many different and educational and growth-worthy productions as we can. Last year was a really big growth moment because we took on a topic that was super hard and was sensitive, and I could not have even imagined all of the conversations that had to have spun out.
Mm-hmm.
as the world developed the way production of South Pacific. But this one, as the boy said, super, super challenging for a voice. It's really stretches their vocal cords, and the dancing is very athletic as well. I mean, Donovan even did a flip on stage, and we were teaching them how to do all of these different dance steps with kids who have never taken lessons before. So it just is, yeah. So we really, when you look to find the show, you are kind of grooming kids to the places where you think that they need to grow the most, and then pick a show that goes that way.
So, Donovan and Jonathan, what about how that came about with all your male friends being able to play newspaper hawkers in New York City? What was that all like?
Well, I mean, all of us, I think we were really happy. I was just like specifically just so happy because it's one of the musicals I've always thought of, just like playing, like even just not just Jack Kelly, but all of the roles, just like from the outfits, just like I like how they look, just the setting, even just like we watched it in like 6th or 7th grade with our Mrs. Lambert, our other choir teacher that we had in 6th or 7th grade, and I just remember like hearing Christian Bale and his song Sing Santa Fe and like the New York accent and all that stuff, and it was just, I just thought it would be so fun to do that, and I'm just so happy that we were able to do it. And I think a lot of other boys and even the girls that were in our musical thought so as well. So, John?
Yeah, I think it was just a really good match. So, like what Donovan said, it just went together well, and we all enjoyed it.
Now, Donovan, it almost looked like that you were about ready to break into a New York accent. Can you maybe say a line or two as a true New Yorker?
I don't know. I've been developing this accent a long time. Sometimes I get a little mobby with it. I don't know. It's been a little bit, but yeah, my parents are probably really annoyed during that time because I talked all the time in it. So yeah.
Ellie, what was it like to do this, to work on this in this era, the late 19th century?
Yeah. Newsies has always been a musical I've been really familiar with. You know, I've watched it a bunch of times and I really like it. It was kind of fun. I was in the group with the bad guys with Mr. Pulitzer. And so we kind of formed just like our own little group. We called ourselves the Pulitzer Posse. And I was the only girl in the group, but it was really fun to kind of just have that little group and kind of go through the musical together. It was really fun.
So now this is going to be a different production, as mentioned, because of COVID-19. This is going to be live, or this is going to be streamed. From what I understand, Allison, you guys had recorded this previously.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get in lead with Night Vision from Wartburg College. They graciously came in and recorded. We spent a Saturday and just recorded the production top down pretty much. We did have a couple little takes that we did a few scenes over, and then they are doing the editing, and from there we will upload the product that they have put together and upload that so that it will live stream on Friday and Saturday night at 7:00, and then Sunday at 3 in the afternoon. So the unfortunate, the way that we have to do it in a live stream, we couldn't do it in on demand due to the production rights. Otherwise, we would totally do it on demand and everybody could watch it when they wanted to. But we have to follow their protocol and we have to watch it specifically at those streaming times.
Sure, but then of course this will make it more like a movie production than a stage production. What was that like? Have anyone?
You guys talk about that one, because being through all of the different shows, you knew how we were setting some things up differently.
It was easy to be like pretty picky because we knew we were recording it, so we could get a scene down and then not have to worry about the transition as much because we were so focused on like getting that one part together. Mm-hmm. So in that aspect, it was like, I think it was better in that aspect. But we also missed, like, the live audience is a big thing I think you miss, because it's fun to, like, when you say a joke and it's silent, it's like, oh, it's not as fun when you have someone out there, my mom laughing in the back because I can always hear her. And yeah, we missed that part.
What do you think, Ellie?
Yeah, personally, like in my head, I'm like, oh, there's not a live audience, so I can kind of relax a little bit. And then with the mask, you can't see all the facial expressions. So sometimes I think like, oh yeah, I can relax a little bit, but no, we still have to do all our acting because it'll be shown to the public. But I think, yeah, it is different without a live audience. There's something to like build off of. But
But then, Donovan, you do have the opportunity to redo a scene if it's not satisfactory, right?
Yeah. Like even I think our first scene that me and Jonathan are in, we redid it because I went in on the wrong note for one of them, but so we redid that one and put out I think one of our best performances. So yeah,
I would have to agree. It was so magical, the rehearsals kind of going through that week. Just watching them continue to grow and the nerves, and you guys can talk to this too, the nerves on that Saturday were very different than any other time that you were like opening up a show, because you felt like you had to be on the whole day. Whereas when it's a show, you start and you run the thing straight through and then you can let your adrenaline down and be done. But this one, we nailed out Act 1, and then we had a little lunch, and then we nailed out Act 2, and then we struck the set, and it was like all over in a day that we normally took a full weekend to kind of handle. But it was, as a director, it was very different because you are thinking about, we wanted to make this as an authentic production as we possibly could, and so we directed and blocked and did the setting and the choreography as, with air quotes, normal as we possibly could, because again, this is a learning experience and that's why we're doing this. So it just was interesting to add those layers of, well, yeah, we don't have to do makeup this year because you have a mask covering up the majority of your face, and so what is that going to mean for hair? And so just lots of different little pieces. But I think all in all, in all of that 2020 way, this is going to be an experience that we are going to be so grateful that we had and absolutely never forget.
And so do you think that maybe with the fact that this is recorded at anyone, do you think this could add to your civic, your CVs, which is another word for a resume, that you've done movie production?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how everyone else thinks of our performances, but yeah.
Now, so how do you feel that this that turned out for you guys?
We actually, unfortunately, haven't gotten a chance to watch the full production from Wartburg yet. We've got our fingers crossed that we might have an opportunity to hop together real quick as a cast and watch it before everybody else on Friday. That's still kind of up in the air, as we're again just still in conversation with Wartburg, because we hit them at, you could either look at it at just the right time or just the wrong time, because it was right before Thanksgiving and their campus closed down after Thanksgiving. None of the kids came back. But their night vision, their TV production studio and workshop were on board with us and came and did the recording, even though the majority of them were already getting ready to take off for the holiday. And we've got some kids who are working kind of in that off contract-ish time, I guess you would call it, through Wartburg to get the editing done. So we're again, that was another piece that my poor happy little anxious brain was like, okay, I know we have to get this recorded, but I am not the girl for that skill. Who on earth can we hop onto? And God bless John Atkinson, and he had connections to Wartburg and just kind of made all of that part happen. So again, this was definitely a moment of teamwork makes the dream work. None of us could have done this alone.
Now, of course, last spring you guys could have had a dramatic play. As usually is musical in the fall, play in the spring, but the onset of COVID-19 nixed that when the governor closed all the schools back in March. to anybody when that happened. What was your thoughts at the time?
Well, at first, I remember I think it was the day before we went on spring break, and I remember sitting with my friends at the lunch table and being, guys, we might not have 2 weeks of school. That's really cool. And then, of course, that turned into months and months and into summer. And I think losing the activities was important, but it was for our safety, and that time is kind of a blur, so honestly, I don't really remember a lot of it. But I think even though we were really disappointed about losing those activities and, the play in the spring, I'm just thankful we get to have our opportunities now, and hopefully everything will get resolved soon.
What do you think, Don and John?
Kind of just what she said. I just remember thinking, like, I was just almost in a way happy that there was like 2 weeks of just like, oh, I can relax and I can play video games with my friends and stuff like that. And then, obviously we've like what's happened. It's like almost sad to just think about what we were thinking at the time versus now. It's just like, oh, but yeah, I was never a part of the play, but I felt really bad for all the people that missed out on that and missed out on all those summer activities. But like what Ellie said, I'm just glad we got to do this. So
Yeah.
And now, Don, now, of course, I know Don and John, you both were football players, but did you also run track at all?
we did not.
Soccer.
We did soccer.
Soccer, okay.
That was a big
So
thing.
you missed the entire soccer season.
Yeah.
What else did you miss, Ellie, in the spring?
I play golf, so I missed my golf season.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, yeah, I know there was individual state speech too, but I believe that got canceled as well.
Now, Allison, what are the plans then for the spring play? Is this going to be a similar arrangement where it'll be pre-recorded, or do you hope that maybe the vaccine will take hold and you'll be able to perform publicly in the RADA?
I don't actually direct the spring play. Johnny Atkinson does, and I know that he has actually, in going through all of this process with it, with the musical, as our tech director, has a lot more experience and more depth of knowledge of what that could possibly look like. And there are just so many more opportunities when you don't have to bring in the elements of singing and the instrumentation and that kind of stuff. I coach the high school speech team, and we currently are doing our readers theater groups we're doing as a Zoom. Like the script is written to be performed on a Zoom meet. So there's just so many more options out there. I know that, again, because of the educational purposes that we strive for through our drama department, that John is probably going to want to do it as, again, I hate air quotes, but with the air quotes, as traditional as possible. But I know that by then that there are going to be a lot more doors open. And again, with the space, the RADA, if you have smaller crowds, our plays normally draw a little smaller crowd. You can socially distance that a lot easier. And not that we couldn't have, I didn't feel safe about bringing in an audience who were going to be sitting on top of each other, on top of the 70 kids that we had running all around backstage, trying to keeping both of those factions safe was more than I can handle. So, but again, this week could be a totally different ballgame.
So, what do you think, everybody? Anyone there? What do you think you guys learned out of doing this?
I think the biggest thing is persevere. I mean, just stick with it and just all the stuff that we've learned, all the community we built because of just these challenges that we've had on each other. I think it just really showed us what we were thankful for that we can do, and remember the things that we missed, and we took for granted all of I took for granted South Pacific and High School Musical and The Music Man, and those I just took for granted. Obviously, I didn't think we were going to have a mask in front of our face doing the musical, so it was just looking back at those memories and being thankful for the ones that we have and we've made. So,
John?
I'd say perseverance and being grateful. Those are just the two big things that come to my mind. especially gratefulness, just because it changes. The masks and stuff has changed, like just daily things, going to school and all that.
Ellie?
Yeah, I think, yeah, my biggest thing has just been being thankful we've gotten to have some of the experiences that we've had, because I know many schools, they're completely online and they don't have any extracurriculars. So the fact that we even get to do, even though we do have limitations, the fact that we get to do this is really cool. And I think one of my biggest mottos has been just going with the flow, because we don't know what's going to happen in a week or a day. Yeah, so I'm just thankful we've been getting to do our extracurriculars.
And finally, Allison, what do you think you learned about the kids through all of this?
Oh gosh. It's kind of the theme of the Newsies in general. Never count out kids. They are resilient. They are aggressive. They're going to go after and stand up for themselves. If I didn't know my kids as well as I did, and know that they would, really bring it together, it would have been a way easier decision to say, you know what, hey guys, let's just move this off to the spring. We'll flip-flop the play. I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. There are so many schools that just said, you know what, we're not doing a musical this year. So I always knew my kids, my musical family had it in them, and this just was another layer of commitment and strength. And I say it every year, and I mean it, because when you guys talk about the shows that you did, I make a picture scrapbook through all of the different shows that we've done. And the night that we recorded, I went home and I went and looked through, and you guys as freshmen were so little and so cute, and the growth of all of you into these just charismatic and caring and leaders and all of the things. I learned even more. It nailed down my determination and understanding that kids can do anything, students can do anything. Mm-hmm. And I was just, I always say I would never want to be doing this with anybody else, and that is 120% true. I would never have wanted to go through this with anybody else.
And that is a theme that's probably is related in the plot of Newsies, because these kids found out that they can do anything. So once again, I'd like to thank Allison Rasmussen, along with Jonathan Wessel, and Ellie Resnicek for joining me for this Zoom meeting. Once again, the Disney's Newsies will be performed. Actually, it has been taped and will be aired on Friday and Saturday night at 7 and Sunday afternoon at 3, with tickets available at wsr.k12.ia.us. For Waverly Newspapers, this is Eric Van Sickle signing off.